Casters Association and this station.
ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
Welcome into the Thursday, September 19th edition. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. It's a Thursday. Means you can join the program right now. 877-420-TALK. That's 877-420-8255. Our phone lines this hour brought to you by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, hold true, great taste. Only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. Now, you can find me on social media anytime at Paul Swann, and the show, of course, on Facebook. You search The Drive with Paul Swann, and you're completely connected with us on social media. In a few minutes, we're going to hear from John Mercer. Tennis is starting to ramp back up at Marshall University, and they've got an event they're co-hosting with West Virginia going on in Charleston tomorrow. So John's going to join us in a few minutes, and we'll talk to him about that. As I mentioned, the phone calls are welcome. It's an open week, so I think we've previewed Open pretty thoroughly. This is the most I think we've ever previewed Open. So Open is going to be on Saturday. Then the Herd will get ready for Cincinnati. They're getting ready for Cincinnati already. It's just they got a few extra days to do so. And you can find out more about what's going on with the Herd's Open Week, because coming up tonight, we'll have Doc Holliday's show at 7. Before that, we'll have Inside Herd Athletics with Marshall University Athletic Director Mike Hamrick, and that's all coming up tonight following our show right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. So tennis tonight, we'll talk to Coach Mercer about that. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with volleyball. If you didn't get a chance to go and pull it up yet, I would go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. It was fun talking to Marshall volleyball coach Ari Agnes, and she is just so energetic and brings a lot to that Herd volleyball program. And you're kind of getting that feeling that things are maybe ahead of schedule where she wants them to be. She's pretty happy with the results. Morehead State, the opponent tonight, and you can get live stats of that on herdzone.com. You can follow along there. Also, I know women's soccer is in action tonight as well. They're at Florida Atlantic, and so all the details also on herdzone.com if you're looking forward to following all of that. But tomorrow, women's tennis, the Marshall West Virginia Invitational. Volleyball is going to be at Coppin State. I'm sorry, they're at that Morehead tournament, so they're going to be playing Coppin State and also playing Southeastern Louisiana. So they got a busy, busy weekend. And, it's good for them because Saturday they're home. They're home. They've been on the road forever, it feels like. So if you missed that interview, go back, check that out. I would encourage you to do that. And I would definitely stick around tonight because Doc Holliday, probably the only coach in America that is doing a coach's show in his off week. Taking a break from getting ready for Cincinnati the following Saturday's game and going over to Fat Patty's tonight. So if you were wondering if the coach's show was still happening, yes, it is happening. Doc is going to be doing the show tonight. It'll be live at Fat Patty's. And, of course, that means Mike Kurtner and Mike Hamrick will get together for Inside Herd Athletics. So we're busy. We got a busy, busy schedule here. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Take our first break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Marshall tennis coach John Mercer. We'll talk to him about what's coming up for the program. They've got the Invitational, co-hosting that with West Virginia. It's going to be in Charleston, so looking forward to catching up with him. We haven't talked in a while, and we can talk also with John. He's a Steelers fan. I'm not. We're both 0-2. I feel good. I feel good in my 0-2-ness. I don't know how he feels about his 0-2-ness, but I feel good. So John Mercer coming up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive, presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Safety program.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's been a long season for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's why I've left John Mercer alone, but tennis season's about to begin, so he can't escape it now. The head coach of the Marshall tennis team joins us now on the program, and Pirates lost again today. John, what do you have to say for yourself?
What happened after the All-Star break, huh?
You tell me. You're the diehard. You're the lifer.
Yeah, the house crumbled. So that was crazy. Epic, as they like to say nowadays.
How many firings do you think? How many firings do you think they're going to be?
Oh, who knows? They're so set on Neil Huntington and the whole coaching staff. I don't know. That's quite the topic in Pittsburgh.
I tell you what, John. Every January, I have the opportunity to go to affiliate meetings, which are in Seven Springs. You want to come with? And you could pose some questions. You could be the guy asking some questions.
I'd love to ask some questions.
Okay.
So I think I'd have some good ones.
The only bad thing is you'd have to carpool with me and Mike Kurtner. I don't know. Are you prepared?
Oh, that would be great with Mike. Come on now.
Have you heard his music playlist, John? Let's be realistic here. You haven't. I have.
I have not.
Yeah,
so
he's still rocking an iPad. I mean, he's still rocking an iPod.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, at least I have earbuds, so I could be
not compatible with his iPod. So and we haven't even talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will in a minute because you're here today because tennis is starting back up and you're going to be co-hosting an event with West Virginia. Is that even legal?
Yeah.
Is that possible? Is that legal?
That's what I said. That's what I said when the coach called me. I was like, what's going on here? There's got to be some secret espionage thing going on here or something, So, but yeah, we're hosting a tournament with WVU over in Charleston, over at the old Wampau Park courts where they have the state tournament every year. And there's been a lot of boosters, both Marshall and WVU, that obviously live in that area and have been kind of wanting us to get together and host a tournament over there. So it's been in the works for a couple of years, and it's finally coming to fruition. So we'll be playing tomorrow.
Do you consider the West Virginia tennis program, are you rivals? Is that program a rivalry? Because this seems like this is really more of a friendly gathering.
Well, I think it's a respectful gathering, and I think it's something that, we've all, want to do. It's good for the game. It's good for tennis. It's good for the state. It's two D1 programs. They don't have a men's team up there like we don't have a men's team. So, they're the two D1 programs in the state, and it's good for the kids in the state of West Virginia to see both programs. And however, when you go out there and play, there's always WVU Marshall. Both sides definitely want to win. So it's competitive, always very competitive.
Now, the schools that are participating in this outside of Marshall and West Virginia are Akron, James Madison, Toledo, and Youngstown State. That's an interesting grouping. You look at them; these are programs you could say maybe in some way are regional to a degree. It's not a hardship for all of them to travel. Is that the reason why the pairing grouping took place, or how did this all come about as far as this field? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, what you basically do. I mean, you get a lot of tournaments in your region, like in this area early. You're trying to qualify players for the regional championships, which is your Virginia Tech at the end of October. So you're trying to get as many head-to-head results between players early here so that you can get more of your players into the regional championships, which actually acts as a national qualifier that's in the national tournament held out in California now. It used to be up at the U.S. Open location in New York, but now it's out in California. And so it's kind of a process that you go through. And there's several of these tournaments. In 2 weeks, we'll be down at Virginia Tech playing another similar tournament to this. And we're just trying to get our kids exposure, get them some matches, but, also hopefully qualify them to be able to play in the regional tournament. So that's kind of the purpose, and teams are always looking, for some good competition. And I think that's where it really helped that, we got together at WVU because that was, two quality programs in there right off the bat. And, so other teams were interested in coming.
So Akron, James Madison, Toledo, Youngstown State. This is pretty good competition then for maybe those who don't know.
Yeah, James Madison's a really good program. They took off the last couple of years. I think they beat Indiana last year out of the Big Ten. And, they all, I think, Akron finished second in the MAC last year. I think they were like 20-6. So you have some good teams in there, some good players. Everyone always has good number 1 and 2 players, so that's for sure. And it'll be competitive. There's no real secrets anymore. So, a lot of good teams out there, a lot of good players, and it's like I said, it's just good exposure for the players to get started, and it's nice for us that we don't have to travel so far. We get to stay here, sleep on campus and take advantage of that. So that's the first for us to start the season off not having to travel somewhere.
John Mercer's joining us, Marshall's tennis coach on the program. And where are you at personnel-wise? I know we've talked over the seasons where you've had some injuries that have really, taken you out. You've had to overcome a lot. And as we've talked, you just can't go on campus and say, hey, can you swing a racket, come on. So where are you at personnel-wise?
Right now we have 6. We do have 3 commits for January, which is really nice. So, our team will change a lot come spring, come January, with 3 new ones coming in. But the 6 we have 4 returners from last year. We have 2 new freshmen, one from Pittsburgh, one from Belgium. The 4 who came back, definitely up at least 1, if not 2 levels from where they were last year. Last year, out of that group, we had 2 sophomores and 2 freshmen. So they all made big strides over the summer, played a lot of tennis, trained a lot. You can just see them. If people watch them play last year, they'll come see them play this year. They'll see a big difference physically, just way more fit. It's really just a process of, recruiting 17, 18-year-olds and, getting them training 12 months out of the year and consistently, and getting them, training at a level that, gets them up to speed to the level where we're competing and trying to, be successful. So, for some of those kids, you're 1 year into it, you're 2 years into it, just continue to see the growth. And that's what we really need, because what we need is we need to work these kids up to be seniors and juniors and so on, and then we'll really be up to full speed. So when the new freshmen come in, they'll have that upper class group, to look at and, really, be able to ask a lot of questions, and, we'll have a lot of good leadership up there. So, but the group we have is really good. They worked hard, and like I said, they're definitely playing at a way higher level than they were last year, especially at this time. They were playing at a way higher level than they were even at the end of the season. So it was good to see them all work hard over the summer. We gave them, things to do, goals over the summer to try to achieve, and they all came through and played tournaments and trained, and you really saw the improvement, first day back on campus.
Marshall women's tennis coach John Mercer with us on the program. John, has this been really a trying couple of seasons with all the difficulties? A lot of them are difficulties that you don't want to happen, but when they do, it's very hard to overcome. So just for you, how trying has it been? How challenging has it been trying to recover from injuries? There are things that happen that you just can't control, and you've had a lot of them. Right,
yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating, of course. The big thing is it's about the student athletes, and you want them all to have, enjoyable, successful careers. They only get to play 4 years, as we all know, and those 4 years go fast. And we were able to sustain, a winning, very high caliber program for 17 years. And, that was something we were always able to sell, and so it was kind of frustrating that, you have players like Anna Smith, who's on the team now, and she's been through she's a junior, but she's been through 2 really tough seasons. So, kudos to her. She's, stuck with us, and she's continued to learn and try hard. Her game's improved tremendously over the 2 years she's here. But, ultimately that's what you want them leaving here going, hey, we won conference championships and we were a top 50 nationally ranked program. And you want to see that success. And, it makes a big difference when they hear, see those things and live those things and, see what, successful programs are about. You don't just dwell on that. You kind of get in a situation where you can, dwell on other things besides that. Really focus on things, individual things and so on. And, really try to build their self-confidence through that, which is what we've really been trying to do. And, ultimately that'll come out in the, team, getting back to the level where, where we expect it to be.
Has that been the sale then when you go talk to a potential student athlete? You say you can make an immediate impact because kids like to play right away. And I guess with a sport like tennis, there's not much sitting on the bench waiting for your opportunity, at least the way elite
Right.
collegiate sports are with tennis.
Yeah. I mean, you have very little margin there, like we kind of talked about in the past. You have to have at least 6 players to put out on the court, and we don't have many scholarships over 6. So if you're missing a player or two, you're really flirting with trouble. As far as putting people out on a court. But yeah, as far as a selling point, Marshall's done a lot. Moving into this national level caliber school. Academically, that's been a big help for us. I think, the coaching aspect of it, both Jason and I have a lot of experience. We've worked with a lot of really good players. I think when we bring recruits here and bring them on campus and, really talk to them, by phone or by Skype or however we're communicating with them, I think they can relate to what we're talking about. They can kind of understand that, okay, this is a place where I can go and get better. So, the downfall, if you want to call it that, a downfall, our last 2 years wasn't necessarily a problem of our players weren't getting better. It was a problem of actually getting players out on the court to play. And so, you don't dwell on it, it's happened, but I think we're in a really good position now, with where we are, after last year. I think last year was a good growing process. Those kids had to come in and, play right away. They got a lot of matches in. They learned a lot. They took that and ran with it. Like I said, had really good summers. And, we'll continue. We'll get back there. I have no doubt about it. We'll get back to where we need to get. So, we definitely, have some more help on the way, and I think it'll really pay off for us this spring.
Let's talk schedule, because you're in Charleston for this event with West Virginia, and then you're in Charleston again, but it's not Charleston, West Virginia. You're in Charleston, South Carolina. Then you're in Blacksburg, Virginia. Right. Then you're in Florence, South Carolina. Then you're in Austin, Texas. Back to Blacksburg, Virginia. Back to Charleston, South Carolina. Orlando, Florida. Naples, Florida. Bloomington, Indiana. Dayton for a couple of jaunts. Toledo. Pennsylvania, University Park. Loretto, Pennsylvania. Greenville. New Haven, Connecticut. New York. Pick me up a Rangers hat, would you? And then February 21st. It's going to be Huntington, West Virginia here. You're going to be spending some time between now and the first of the year on the road a lot. Now, you're not consecutively on the road. There's going to be some gaps in between all this, but still,
right.
You're on the road a lot.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for our players. They like to travel. That's one reason they come here. We have a nice budget. We've had a lot of support from the athletic department in that regard, that, we can get places and get good competition, to improve. And, so we want to take advantage of that. It's kind of a little bit unique about tennis, is that, growing up, when a lot of kids start playing when they're 12, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Rarely do you never really play on your home facility. You're always traveling to a tournament somewhere. So tennis players are kind of used to that. It's kind of like, okay, I'm playing this weekend. I'm going from Huntington, West Virginia, and I'm traveling to Orlando, Florida, and that's where I'm playing. And next weekend I'll be in Cincinnati, Ohio. And, rarely do you, even my own kids who grew up playing here in Huntington and did really well, they never played a tournament in Huntington. They played high school tennis in Huntington, but they never played a tournament in Huntington. So, but yet they were all over the United States. And it's like that everywhere, whether you're here or whether you're in Europe or whether you're in Japan or all around the world. So tennis players are kind of used to that routine of getting on the road and competing. So, but that's basically what we're trying to do. We're trying to get them in situations where they can be competitive, at the level that they need to be in order to grow and continue to get better as players. And I think, that's really what that schedule offers. A lot of things have changed in college tennis over the last couple of years. A lot of, you see some of those events on there, they're pro tournaments. And that's really the wave. College tennis is really becoming a developmental system for pro tennis, just like, college basketball is for the NBA and college football is for the NFL. You're really starting to see college tennis develop into a training ground to develop future pro players. And you're seeing that, if anybody followed the U.S. Open, there's just a ton of players in there who played college tennis, from whether they were from here in the States or all over the world. This guy played here, and this guy played at, UCLA, and this guy played at Vanderbilt. You could go on and on and on. But, so the landscape's changing, and we're having to change with that, keep up with that. I think we're, doing a good job of that, and I think that'll pay dividends for us here.
John Mercer is joining us on the program, Marshall's women's tennis coach. So do you like that, the fact that it's becoming more of just a developmental ground for professional tennis, or should it always been, to a degree, a developmental ground for professional tennis?
That's a very good question, Paul. It's different. I would put it from the standpoint, it's kind of like what's going on in the world today in athletics. It's a matter of survival. So if college tennis is going to survive, that's what it needs to do. And that's what, coaches are committed to doing, to developing this type of system. So, this is what's being asked, not necessarily by my administrators, but being asked by, administrators across the country. What's the route here? What's the can you get to the major leagues of tennis by being a college tennis player? And if you can set up that sort of pathway, then the NCAA looks at it as much more of a viable sport. And so that's where you're kind of getting into this. It's a good hour-long discussion on the talk show.
We could do that sometime. We don't have an hour, but we could do that sometime. Speaking of your administration, always generous. You've always told me that they're very supportive, and obviously the travel budget's very nice because you get to go all over the place. And you do have some home matches, by the way. So it's not as if you're just America's guest for the
right.
For the,
some of those events, like the pro event, we won't be taking the whole team. It's certain players who are carrying points with them to qualify to get into those events. So again, it's kind of part of the whole recruiting process. Like if you want to be recruiting at a certain level now, then you need to be offering to be able to go play these particular type of events. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. So has the support mechanism behind you with the administration? Where are they wanting this to go? Are they pretty responsive, or is Marshall ahead of the curve?
It comes back into, just like all the other sports. Okay, we're in this conference. What do you need to do in order to be competitive within your conference? So the better the conference you're in, obviously the more you're going to have to ante up. It's just like football and basketball. I mean, if you're going to be in the ACC in basketball, it's probably going to be more expensive than being in Conference USA, as we all know. But tennis-wise, we have some very competitive teams and some very competitive programs in our conference, in Conference USA. Either as a result of, finances or as a result of location. They're very good. So, we have to kind of look at that and say, okay, what do we need to do in order to be competitive? And, that's basically, and that's, how it's always been treated here, from the time that we got here. every AD that we've had here, that either I worked for or Laurie, my wife, when she was head coach here, worked for. I mean, they've been very supportive and, have always tried to give us what we need in order to be competitive at that level within our conference. So that's the goal.
John Mercer is our guest. Marshall women's tennis in action tomorrow and on Sunday. You're going to be at the Marshall, West Virginia Invitational. It's going to be in Charleston. Then after that, you're going to be America's guest for a long time back in Huntington on February 21st. We'll see you again then. You got a lot of games, a lot of matches. I mean, correct myself here. A lot of matches. And you've got, two Conference USA? In all of those, you've got 2 Conference USA matches.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Actually, is that how many we have?
Okay, you have North Texas. Okay, North Texas, FIU.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And Charlotte.
Okay. All right. So 3. Yeah.
It's a little different, isn't it? Conference USA tennis is a little different than it is for the other sports.
Yeah, we don't play, a mandatory schedule. So again, you kind of end up, playing things a little bit more regionally. Trying to, get your rankings up. We're really trying to be a top 50 program. That's our goal, so we can get an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament in case we don't win our conference tournament. But yeah, in order to do that, then, because there's not a mandatory schedule, you're looking at playing other teams that are, more regional, like the Penn State that's on the schedule, schools like that. So, there's positives and negatives behind it. The positive is that we don't have to do as much traveling. We don't have to fly to UTEP, right?
That's always a plus.
Fly out west all the time, right? Well, I've heard they all love that trip to UTEP, right? We don't have to do that. But, and another positive is that we have extra dates now to schedule teams like out of the ACC or the SEC or the Big Ten and so, which we've always done in the past. The negative is that you have to build an entire schedule. There isn't, we get 25 dates. There isn't an automatic, 12 dates that have already been taken, and you just have to build 11. It is not easy coming up and juggling 25 dates throughout a season. That's a challenge. And so, sometimes you might end up playing some places you don't want to or at a particular time, but, we're just not in that situation. So, you try to, again, take the positive out of it and, hopefully it, kind of hardens your team a little bit, hardens your players a little bit, makes them a little tougher, see what they're made of, gets them to grow and, gain some self-confidence that they can be in some tough situations and still perform up to their capabilities. So, the schedule is always a challenge.
John Mercer is our guest, Marshall women's tennis coach. Hey, we got through it. No mention of our 0-2 teams, so we're good in football. Don't forget me when you go to New Haven, Connecticut, and New York. I need authentic. I need an authentic Rangers hat. New York Rangers.
Okay.
We're going to win the Stanley Cup in 5 years, John. In 5 years, they're going to win this. That's the plan.
Well, they won't even have anybody on the team in 5 years. It's on the team now.
Have you seen? Have you seen our acquisitions? have you seen? I mean, we've got Bread. I mean, you got Panarin. We got Bread.
Jeez.
Yeah, have you seen him? You got the number 2 draft pick overall in Capo.
Okay.
I mean, what do you have? What do you have in your Penguins? What do you have?
It's always good to have hope. You
seriously.
have to have hope.
You got what? Malkin. Yeah. We got Crosby. What do you got? Who's left on that team?
Yeah, they always seem to get something together, though, don't they? So they always seem to have a big master plan somewhere. So how about the Steelers without Big Ben?
They look great. I love it.
How are we feeling about that?
I love it. I love every bit of it. I love every moment of it.
Think they'll be better?
I hope not. I'm just going to be honest with you. I hope they go 0-16. or the Bengals go 0-16. They go 2-14, and the Bengals get the first round draft pick. I'm okay with that too.
With that trade with Miami, it seems like they haven't given up though, right? Fitzgerald.
Like
You got a lot of first and second round draft picks on that defense now.
All I know is tonight you got to focus on the Penguins. Yeah, you got to focus on the Penguins and the Blue Jackets preseason hockey tonight. Yeah, that's your winner, Pittsburgh Penguins. They're going to be your only hope.
My son's in Columbus now, so I guess he could report back to me on the Blue Jacket thing. So.
Yeah, as in his Pittsburgh gear, right?
He'll always bleed black and gold. So
I understand. It seems to run in your family that way. I understand. John, appreciate it. Thank you, sir. We'll do this again soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's been too long, but I don't know the next time we can get you on to promote an event because you're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll check in with you every once in a while.
Okay, and then we'll have you back on the show. I'm thinking Thursday, February 20th. I think that's the next time we'll
that would be awesome. Yeah, they were rolling at that point.
We'll do it sooner, I promise.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
That's John Mercer.
Go Herd. Pens and Steelers.
No, on the last two, no. Go Herd, yes.
Right. Go Herd.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day. Thanks.
I'm not accepting that go Steelers, go Pens stuff. Stop that. We'll continue on with today's edition of The Drive here, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
The Drive with Paul Swann. Marshall Athletic Director Mike Hamrick. He knows.
Paul's the best.
On ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Don't forget to stick around after today's show. We'll be taking you to Fat Patty's for Inside Herd Athletics with Marshall University Director Mike Hamrick. He'll be there with a cast of thousands, as well as they'll discuss Marshall Athletics. Your host is Mike Kurtner, and we don't know what the topics are going to be. I don't know what the topics are going to be. Mr. Hamrick doesn't know what the topics are going to be. Nobody knows what the topics are going to be until Mike tells us. So we'll find out all together, and you can tune into that program coming up next. And you can also join the program by calling 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. We went a little long with Coach Mercer from Marshall Tennis, and, of course, I expected that. So we got to take another quick break, come back, and we're going to wrap this up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. 877-420-TALK. That's 877-420-8255. Save that number because coming up next, it'll be Inside Herd Athletics with Marshall University Athletic Director Mike Hamrick. That'll be the number you need to call in. And if you've got any questions, you can ask. We don't screen the calls. And, of course, I never know what the topics are going to be on that program. So, again, it's an adventure. I'm going to be listening, finding out what the heck's going to happen at the same time you are. And we're doing it all live from Fat Patty's. That's going to do it for this edition of today's program. I want to thank my guest, John Mercer from Marshall University Tennis, for joining us on the program, talking a little Marshall tennis and some Pittsburgh sports as well. Our producer this afternoon is Gabriel Sellards. Appreciate him as always. Back tomorrow on Friday to do it all over again. Until then, if you missed any part of today's program, don't forget you can go back and catch it on the podcast. That's right, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcast, you can find The Drive with Paul Swann. Once again, for John Mercer, my guest this afternoon, appreciate him, and Gabriel Sellards, I'm Paul Swann. This has been The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.